A disclaimer for YouTube: don't try anything seen me do at home. Abide by local laws regarding self-defense use of weapons at all times, and they should cover it. So, in this video, I'm going to be improvising, making a training knife out of my cold steel mini leather neck. I've said it before when talking about knife fighting martial arts or training in general. You want something as close to the real thing as possible, which means if you're training for street fighting self-defense, boxing, street fighting self-defense, or boxing punches, you don't wear boxing gloves that are like pillows and give you this much extra reach. Do you understand? If you're training for street fighting self-defense or bare knuckle, if you train with huge gloves and wraps, and when you're actually fighting, you won't wear gloves and wraps, you don't want to only be training in a completely different way than the actual thing. You want something as close to the real deal, which means when I train martial arts, street fighting self-defense martial arts, meaning the type of martial arts I train is more conducive to street fighting self-defense than sport fighting. So I train with gloves, and the only thing that I throw punches on the bomb, bare knuckle. A lot of guys couldn't throw as hard as I do, and they couldn't throw as hard as I do without breaking the hand. So the people that could punch as hard as I can as many times as I've done in training, they couldn't do so, most of them, without breaking their hands. Okay. So I've been doing quite a lot of bare knuckle punching in my YouTube channel. Don't try that at home, you're likely to break your hands. I even punch steel boards. I call it superhero training. You can search my YouTube channel for bare knuckle. And I have a compilation where I'm punching steel plates and hard stuff, okay? Bare knuckle punching. So I train as close to bare knuckle as possible. The martial arts bob that I've thrown bare knuckle punches, meaning 100% bare knuckle, no gloves, no wraps, no nothing. And then I would get cuts, meaning my skin would break open. And I started putting just a layer of tape over the knuckles, and now what I do is just wear regular everyday gloves that I wear when I'm outside. Okay, it's like normal gloves, like EDC gloves you could call them. It's like you found them on where I buy them, searching like tactical gloves. Okay, so there's like the gloves that are designed to protect the hands from like scratch and stuff, but they don't really give you wrist support, and there's not really any padding in there. So when I train martial arts, I use just gloves, okay, and not sports gloves, just regular gloves. And because that's what I might wear if I end up throwing punches, see? So all the training that I do, I'm throwing punches with gloves, the same type of gloves that I wear every day when I'm outside, okay? And I've trained throwing bare knuckle, completely bare knuckle, meaning no gloves at all. So there's ways that you can punch with wrist wraps and gloves, boxing gloves, that you could have punched in a street fight. So breaking your hands is something that can happen in street fights. It's quite easy for people to break their hands in street fights if they punch the bone, no wraps, no gloves. So my point is this: generally, when it comes to fighting, martial arts, if it's gunfighting or stick fighting or knife fighting or fist fighting, if you're training, you want your training to be as realistic as possible, at least some of the time, a lot of the time. Meaning, if I'm going to train for fighting with my cold steel mini leather neck as a martial arts form, I'm not going to use something that's twice as long as the knife, see? So if you're living in a state where they allow you to carry like a standing ground state, and if they allow you to carry a knife on you, and you're allowed to use that for self-defense, and you're a person that buys a Bible local laws versus this weapon. If you're a person that buys a knife for self-defense and carry it, say, okay, I ordered this knife, I'm gonna have it in my pocket for self-defense in case I need it. And your training, you start doing some training, which makes sense. You start with some training. So it's like a person buys a cold steel recon tent, for example, and they're gonna carry that on them for self-defense, and they think, yeah, I'm buying this knife as a fighting knife for self-defense in case I get attacked, okay, and I need to use my knife for self-defense. And some people in America, they carry guns for self-defense legally, okay, so by local laws regarding self-defense use weapons, but even some people that carry guns carry knives too for self-defense. Meaning, I'm been kind of dialed in, look at gun tubes and stuff, and I see quite a lot of people that have channels where they're dealing with self-defense generally, and like knives and guns and stuff, and there's quite a lot of people that will tell in comments and stuff that they're carry a knife on top of a gun. That's the point. If you're training, it makes sense to train with something as close to original as possible. So when I train martial arts for self-defense, like self-defense martial arts, I'm not training with huge boxing gloves and wrist wraps and wrap up my hands every time. I'm training from punches without wraps and without gloves. And there's some differences, okay? There's some differences in bare knuckle and sport fighting. Now, here's the point. And like other types of sport fighting, so you want something as close to original as possible. Which means if you're gonna be training for you buy a cold steel recoil 10 to say, and you're gonna carry that for a fighting self-defense knife, you don't get a knife that's half as long to train with it. You want something as close to the original knife as possible. So you got a specific knife, this knife, for self-defense fighting. You don't use something completely different because you're building muscle memory and techniques. You're drilling techniques and building muscle memory if you're training with your training knife for fighting with it for real. And you want the knife, the training knife, to be as close to original as possible. See, it's just simply that. So this is my cold steel mini leather neck. Let's switch to the back. This is my cold steel mini leather neck knife. Here. And this is another way that I improvised to make my cold steel mini leather neck, the actual knife, a training knife that I can train with. And it's very close to original because it is the original. There'll be some minor differences, some attachments. So basically I'm using the sheath, securing the sheath, securing sheath, more securely, pun intended. I'm securing the securing sheath more securely to the handle to make this a training knife. Now obviously I would never use this for sparring because there's a small chance that the sheath could break, especially if you're training hard and frequently. There's a chance that the sheath could come off somehow, and you should never use something like this for sparring. But there's people that train with knives, and I've done that too, with like an actual knife and stabbing wood, for example, and slashing wood. Okay, so this is a sheath that's mostly designed to protect the dummy, so I don't want to destroy the martial arts bob dummy even more. It's already been damaged from training. So I've improvised this sheet here, and I will make this even more secure. So what I used before are rubber hairbands, where I take like a rubber hairband, the type that women use for the hair, cut it in half and then tie it around here. Now this time I use zip ties, thin zip ties, 2 of them in an X here, and already it's pretty damn secure here. 2 zip ties. And these are long and thin zip ties. And how I did this? It's pretty simple. Took a zip tie, put through this hole over here, tighten it, then use the nail clipper scissor to cut it off here, and then same here. So basically 2 zip ties. Now to make this less scratchy and less catching on thingy, I'm going to add some hot glue to it. That's step 2. Add some hot glue here. And then here. There you go. That's step 2. Some hot glue. A little bit more here. And here. So, this hot glue. Gonna disconnect this. Okay, cool off. It's going to be a third step. I have this sports tape here. It should be the last step. What I can do. So, zip ties, hot glue, and then tape, sports tape, to make this less scratchy. And it's ready now. Here you go. Max has special. Improvising a training knife out of an actual knife. You know what, I think I might put some tape down there too. One red, 3. Okay. It's not impossible to live a little bit later and train with this. So, this is improviser sheet from my cold steel training knife. Improvising a training knife out of my cold steel mini lead neck. So this is a customization, adapting this for training use on the dummy. Remember, abide by local laws regarding self-defense, use a weapon at all times, and don't try anything in doing this at home. Subscribe to my channel if you're first time you want to see me training with this.